It's the end of the year. Grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and let's avoid these people in the next few days. Do try to run me down. I'm a usual lurker here, but this memory from a year ago popped into my head, and I want to share because I was so shocked in the moment. I realize now how scary the whole situation was, and it was just super strange. Keep in mind, this story is hard to describe, but I'll try my best. I, 22 female, met my dad at a tire shop in an increased area of crime of town. Not really sure why we went to this specific shop. It was probably around noon. My dad brought his chihuahua with him, so I took her on a walk around the tire shop while he consulted with the mechanics. The shop was about a football field away from a busy street, with a big field in between the shop and the street in an otherwise residential area. I figured it was safe enough to walk the dog around in the field because my dad and the mechanics were right there. However, the shop was fenced in and not facing the field, so I guess it wasn't actually that safe for me because my dad and the employees couldn't really see me, so I was just walking the little dog around in this field, not too close to the busy street, and suddenly this beat up car with the windows down starts driving really slowly on the busy street, and I can tell the dude driving was staring at me. The street is somewhat far away from me, and he eventually drives past, so I'm like, whatever. But then a couple seconds later, I see the car again going down the street in the opposite direction, going really fast, and he turns onto the street where I am. He's driving very, very fast, and he just guns it into the field where I'm walking the dog, literally jumping the curb. He's coming straight for me very fast, and I'm just shocked, thinking, is he about to plow us down? What the heck is happening? It was just so quick and unexpected. In my confused shock, I'm just hesitating with the dog contemplating running away, but not wanting to turn my back on the car. Then, miraculously, I guess there was some kind of uneven ground or a hole because the guy's car, which is a real beater, very old, got stuck and a wheel starts spinning. With his windows down, I can hear him cursing and take this moment to scoop up the dog and run out of there. Then he opens the car door, about to get out of the car. I can't remember any descriptions about this man, other than that he was quite overweight. Again, because of the shock, I can't even recall his race or age range or anything like that. Right at that moment, a truck pulls up beside us with two youngish men inside. It was like a construction truck. They roll down the windows, and as if this guy is bothering me, they say it loudly, and it spooks the guy, and he goes back into his car. He then is able to peel out in reverse from whatever hole the car was stuck in. He quickly reverses out the field we're in, back onto the street, and takes off. The kind men who stopped apparently saw all this happen, but it just happened so quickly though. They were just as confused as I was. What was this guy's game plan? What was he attempting? Kidnapping me in broad daylight, obviously with people around? I'm not sure. I'm just glad his car got stuck and I didn't find out. It was very strange. I stared down the barrel of my mugger's gun. In December of 2013, during my sophomore year of college, my at-the-time boyfriend David had a fraternity dinner banquet that I attended with him. It was a nice event, requiring everyone to dress up. He was in a suit, I was in a dress and heels. We had a good time, then went back to his place to drop off the award David won and change into tacky Christmas sweaters for a party we had later that night. It was maybe 7:30 p.m. at night, but given that it was December, it was already dark outside when we pulled into the parking lot outside David's apartment. At his place, there was one road with parking on either side, spots against the building and spots against a fence that lined the edge of the complex property. We parked in a fence spot with the trunk of our car facing the building, directly across the stair leading up to David's door, maybe 30 feet from safety. David and I got out and went to the trunk to get his award when a man started to approach us. David noticed him and said, "What's up, man?" The man said nothing and kept walking towards us. As he got closer, I could see that he was wearing baggy black sweatpants and a camo hoodie. He had the hoodie on and the drawstrings were pulled tight, so I can only see about half of his face. Both of his hands were in front of his hoodie pocket. David said again, "What's up?" This time the man answered, "Get up against the car." Confused, I said, "Wait, what?" The man pulled a gun out of his hoodie pocket. I said, "Get up against the car." David got back up against the car, whilst the man put the gun against his back. I was in utter shock that this was happening, so I took a step back, now trapped in between two cars, a fence, and a man holding a gun to my boyfriend. He told David to give him all the money he had. We only had used cards and never really had much cash on us. Unfortunately, though, while home for Thanksgiving, his parents had given him $200 in 20s, all of which were turned into hands of our mugger. Then he turned to me, pointed the gun at my face, and said, "Your turn." I was dressed up and only carrying a small clutch purse. I literally only had a phone and lip gloss on me. I stammered out that I didn't have anything, while staring at the gun he had pointed at me. Then he went back to my boyfriend. At this point, I feel the blood starting to boil. I was becoming less frightened and more pissed off, outraged that this man was aggressively stealing from two broke college kids. How dare he treat other people like this? Couldn't he tell that we were coming from an event and this was going to ruin our night? I wanted to kick him with my big clunky heel so badly, but thankfully I realized that would probably just piss him off. I grabbed my phone, keeping my hand in my purse, and tried to dial 911. Unfortunately, my purse was too small to hide any movement, and I was worried if he saw me trying to call for help, he'd shoot. So I just stood there, staring the gun between Preston to David's back. Finally, he took David's wallet and car keys and threw them in one direction, ran off in the other, hopping the fence separating the complex from a small neighborhood. David and I stood in silence for a second, trying to grasp what had just happened. We slowly gathered his keys and wallet, then went inside and called the police, definitely in shock. This is where the story gets interesting. The police had an officer patrolling the other side of the apartment complex because they had gotten a call previous day about the same guy mugging someone over there. Police and detectives come over and took our story and asked us questions for about an hour. When they left, it was still relatively early, maybe 9 p.m. We were still shaken up, but David and I decided we'd still go to the tacky Christmas party we had planned on attending, thinking it would help us take our mind off this horrible encounter. Our friend was hosting a pregame at his apartment in Building 3 of the same complex. Even though we decided not to drink that night, we head over after getting into our tacky sweaters. The pregame got a little rowdy, and we heard a loud knock on the door. We opened it to see the guy who lives next door to our friend. He said, "Hey guys, you guys might want to keep it down. I don't want anyone here getting in trouble. I have police and investigators at my apartment right now because I was mugged out here last night. I heard 2 more people got mugged tonight, so please be safe." David and I look at each other and then back at him. "Oh, hi. That's us. We're the 2 that were mugged tonight. Nice to meet you, fellow mugging victim." He laughed and shook our hands. Neighbor and David compared knives they were carrying as personal defense weapons before he went back to his place. Later on down the road, David and I had broken up, but the security at the complex was amped up. More lights were installed in the parking lot, and my girlfriend and I moved in. We had to park in the same set of spots where I was held at gunpoint. Probably a stupid way to face your fears, but we didn't have any issues while we lived there, thankfully. To the man who mugged both me and my friend's neighbor, let's not meet again. The delivery driver who wouldn't leave. I read a post earlier tonight that reminded me of this not-so-fun moment happened last year. At the time, I, 24-year-old female, had the entire lower main floor unit I lived in to myself. I used to bartend and manage a nightclub a few blocks away and would get home around 4 a.m. in the morning. This night, I had just finished a 12-hour shift, was exhausted and hungry, so I decided to order some food. I placed the order, get my joint rolled, and ready for when the food arrives, put on a movie and wait. Eventually, I hear the doorbell ring, and being alone and it being late at night, I wanted to get the photo sent to the delivery app to verify my food was at the door, and so I didn't have to make small talk with the driver, as post-COVID I still kept the option for contactless delivery. 3 to 5 minutes pass, I see the photo of my food on the doorstep, and decide to get up and go get it. My bedroom window had 5 large windows that gave my full view of the path along the house. The main street in front, our garbage area, and the area right in front of our unit's door. The driver is still out there, and now he's texting me to come out and get my food. I tell him he left it in a perfect spot. I'll be out shortly to get it, and thanks for delivering it. At this point, I'm waiting for him to go, because even though marijuana is legal here, people can still be judgmental, and I don't want to go to my PJs to collect my food, smoke, and see a human after working all night. He doesn't leave. He keeps texting me to come outside, and now I can hear him talking to another male voice. Although my window view obscures anyone else that might be out there, the food in the photo was right against my door, and I can see him edging it away and off to the side, so I'd have to fully step outside and around a small corner to collect it. I keep texting him, telling him it's in a perfect spot. I'm glad he followed the instructions. I will be out shortly. He starts banging on my front door, still occasionally talking to this other male voice. My food is now further away from the door. He won't stop banging and telling me to come outside. Eventually, I tell him I said delivery has no contact as I have COVID and don't want to get anyone sick. After I saw he'd read my message on the app, he put my food back by the front door and walked out of there through the back parking lot. Something about this entire encounter felt so off. I waited about 15 minutes until I couldn't see or hear anyone, quickly opened the door and grabbed my food. The whole ordeal lasted for about an hour. My food was nice and cold. The joint was out the way for another day, and my heart was racing for the rest of the night. So, delivery man who would not take the hint and go away to his friend. Let's not meet. I really just should have gone home. So the story is a few years old, but I just found out about the sub today, and whenever I tell the story to people, the reaction is always some variation with holy F. At the time of the story, it's mid-October. I'm 20 years old and a senior in college. I got out of class at 9 p.m. and headed downtown in my college town to see about an open mic thing that was supposed to be happening at a hookah lounge. And around that time, there was a guy who would play accordion on one of the corners of the main thoroughfare. Didn't find accordion guy, and either the hookah place was closed, or it wasn't an open night at all. I don't quite remember. But as I'm walking back down on one of the main streets in downtown that heads back onto the campus, I came across this very drunk woman begging two other women for a ride home. I think the girls were getting into an Uber, or they didn't have space or something like that. Point is, the two other women weren't taking her and couldn't and wouldn't help her. Mind you, this is a Thursday at 9-ish at night. When she finds that the other woman can't help her and I'm walking past, she turns to me asking for my help getting home. For context, I still have my backpack on, my phone's running low, but I've been at this school and in this town for 3 years at this point, so I know downtown and campus pretty damn well on foot. I'm also a young AFAB, assigned female at birth person. This is important. Also of note, I do not have a car at this point in time. She gives me an address. It's maybe 15 to 20 minute walk north, slightly northwest of where we were at, and I knew the general area where I would be, so I was more than happy to be a good Samaritan and walk a drunk woman home who didn't feel safe. Boy, do I regret my bleeding heart after this. She's incredibly thankful and overjoyed that someone is finally willing to get her home. The route we were going to take was a straight super forward, and I knew exactly where I was in relation to the rest of the town. She says that she has to pee really badly. I reassure her it won't be that long, and she'll be back at her place. She says that she was out with her boyfriend, and he left her at the bar alone drunk and mad at her or something like that. Says she's from out of state. I commiserate with her that what he did was shitty. She asked me about what I'm studying. I confided that I was finishing a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. She starts in about her experience with the dark net. She's bemoaning this boyfriend that's at home, and I'm walking her back to. She keeps trying to walk with me like up against my side or slightly behind me, and I'm like now walking slightly ahead of me or keeping some space in general. She has a dermal piercing on her cheekbone that's hard to miss. She's getting more and more manic and weird as we walk along. We get about half a mile into North Downtown, less than a mile from the address that she gave me, and the boyfriend's calling her and being a real douche. I'm about done with this guy when the shit she's telling me about this and that and the other thing. So she puts him on speakerphone and I tell him to chill out. We're on a such road close by or whatever. His tone changes in an instant. He goes from hostile and angry to surprisingly chill. I may be a neurodivergent, but that threw up a million more red flags for me. And she starts saying that I'm gonna have a good time at their house. I'm looking for an exit. Every bone in my body is screaming at me to get out of this situation. We get to the end of the road, which coincides with an intersection that has a gas station. I say, hey, let's stop here to use the bathroom. She says that she doesn't really have to use the bathroom anymore. I'm scared shitless. I tell her, well, maybe you don't have to, but I do, which was true. We go into the gas station. I head immediately to the bathroom and text one of my friends asking if she was working and if she could pick me up or if I need to call the campus safe ride home program. Friend says it'll be a minute if I'm willing to wait. I agree to wait. I come out of the bathroom and this drunk woman, if she even was actually drunk to begin with, has vanished. Nowhere in the store, nowhere in sight, nowhere outside that I care to look. I buy a soda and wait for my friend and her friends to come save me effectively. I'm later told that facial dermal piercings like her are somewhat affiliated with human trafficking. And to be honest, with the vibes and the changes in tone and the narrative that was being spun around me, walking this woman home, and how she just completely vanished on me when I got to a safe place with lights and cameras and such, I have to wonder if this wasn't the plan. I won't ever know for certain, but I'm certainly scared the ever-loving daylights out of me as a 20-year-old. My friend and her friends pulled up, taking me to one of their dorms, and I spent more of the evening with them, so I wasn't alone, forever thankful for 3 underclassmen for rescuing me from a gas station at 10. A good while after this happened, I was out at a drag bar getting cross-faded with friends, and I recognized her at a table near ours, and I was completely panicking the rest of the night, terrified of this woman and what could have happened before and then.